Alright, so basically working with polynomials today, and you've seen these before, this really isn't going to be new for us. And so just a couple things I want to point out, kind of introduce things. So polynomial in standard form, think about like quadratics, we've been working with standard form, basically just biggest power to smallest power, okay? So you look at the degree of that power, so notice this one, x cubed squared. This would just be a 1. This would technically be an x to the 0, which would just be 1, okay? And that's the constant term. So the cubic term, quadratic term, linear term, and the constant term. So this polynomial is written in standard form. Now we commonly classify polynomials a couple different ways. We can look at the number of terms they contain, so 1 term, 2 terms, 3 terms, so on and so forth. Or we can just look at their degree. Honestly, that's probably a little more common, but we use both pretty regularly. So for example, here's just some simple examples in this table. 6, well, that's a very simple polynomial. It's 1 term, happens to be a constant term, and it's a monomial. Mono, right, just meaning 1 there. 2 terms here, notice what's the highest power? It's a 1, so that's a linear term, and there's 2 terms in it, the x and the 3, so that would be a binomial. Quadratic, right, because it's a squared, monomial, 3 terms here, so that would be a trinomial, and the biggest power is a 3, so a cubic, quartic, 4th degree, 5th degree. Again, these aren't going to be as common we'll work with, but 5th degree, quintic, binomial, again, 2 terms, 4 terms, just say, hey, 4-term polynomial. Again, we're not going to deal a lot with those. Now, what do these graphs look like? Again, we're very familiar with lines, just linear graphs. Quadratic, remember we talked about, they all make nice parabolas. Cubics kind of have this characteristic shape. One side's pointed down, the other side's pointed up. They are smooth. Okay, all polynomial graphs are going to make nice smooth graphs. They're not going to be jagged. That's really the big ideas. There's going to be a few things you might see in the lesson. They ask you to model, or they just predict. They'll show you a graph and say, what is this? Well, again, just based on these 3 shapes, should be pretty easy to predict. They may give you an equation like this one, y equals 2x squared minus 3x plus 2. Predict this when x equals 5. Well, that's easy, right? You've done stuff like that. Just plug the 5 in for the x. You're just evaluating a function. So again, I think the lesson's pretty straightforward. Just wanted to introduce, refresh your memory a little bit. And good luck. Hope you have a great lesson.